Hi everyone and welcome to the show. If you love real stories from the world of sister wives, don't forget to subscribe and give this episode a thumbs up. The vision of one united brown family residing on the Coyote Pass land was a fantasy. But before the land could even be developed, Cody's first 3 wives started to disintegrate as individuals from his life. They disappeared one by one. And this is where things get tricky, because none of the women were officially married to Cody. They had no official claim to the land, even though they helped finance it. Instead of handling things fairly, Cody turned the whole situation into a drawn-out conflict. Mary and Janelle, in particular, were left with almost nothing. The Coyote Pass property ended up symbolizing Cody's control and manipulation. Christine, on the other hand, managed to walk away with less damage. When she left Cody in 2021, she sold her share of the land back to him for just $10. She desired a fresh start, and to her, that bit of money was worth leaving the past behind. But Mary and Janelle did not. They had suffered years of abuse at the hands of Cody and were not about to let go of their share without a struggle. At some time, Cody asserted he owned most of the land, but Mary and Janelle asserted each of them had a 25% interest. Then, in March 2025, Cody redivided the land so that it looked like it was more equally divided between the 4 adults. Nonetheless, in reality, Cody and Robin made the final decision on everything. Even though they had bigger chunks, Mary and Janelle did not have any real power. Cody and Robin were left with most of the power, as well as the down payment and equity in the property. This was particularly unjust, given that Robin had contributed least financially. Janelle even used part of her retirement funds to assist in purchasing the property, and Mary had invested a significant amount of money in the family too. But neither of them gained anything from it. Aside from property and money, the family was also transforming in more profound ways. At the start of the show, religion had been at the center of the Browns' lives. Their belief in polygamy wasn't simply individual, it was spiritual. Cody, Mary and Christine all had a polygamous upbringing, and although Janelle grew up LDS, her mother went on to have a plural marriage and married Cody's father. That made Cody and Janelle technically step-siblings prior to their marriage. But as time went on, religion was pushed into the background. During the early seasons, the family would frequently discuss their faith and go to church every week. When they moved away from Utah and went to Las Vegas to escape legal issues, their tie to their religious community unraveled. Gradually, the show changed its direction. Religious discussions were scarce, and the Browns were no longer depicted attending church. Now, none of them engage in polygamy. Christine remarried and publicly stated she'll never be in another plural marriage. Janelle and Mary too left Cody, leaving Robin alone. What began as a religious way of life now resembles a dysfunctional family. Cody is happy with one wife, but Robin has stated she wishes to go back to polygamy, not due to religion, but because she misses the stability and support of a large family. Nowadays, drama has replaced religion on sister wives. Being on national TV subject to public scrutiny, legal issues, and family drama have transformed them all. Religion may still be important to some of them in private, but it's no longer an outward aspect of their lives. The Brown family is not what they once were. What started out as a devout polygamous clan is now a bunch of people headed in different directions. And the television show, which was originally constructed on religion, now revolves around individual struggle and emotional repercussions. Welcome to the show, all. If you're watching for real stories that get to the bottom of the Sister Wives universe, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give thumbs up to this episode. Now, let's dive in, because what was once a promising dream for the Browns became something much more painful and ugly. The dream of a harmonious, joint home on the open spaces of Coyote Pass once promised so much. A big shared farmhouse, a refuge for a successful plural family, it seemed perfect. But as visions stayed on paper and building stopped, the emotional walls between family members disintegrated more quickly than any foundation ever could. One at a time, slowly but surely, all the wives started to drift away from Cody. It wasn't abrupt, it was slow-motion heartbreak, one leaving, then another. And their departures weren't just emotionally painful, they were legally catastrophic. Since their marriages hadn't been legally sanctioned by the state, none of the women legally owned any claim to the Coyote Pass property. Even though they'd invested their money, effort, and even retirement funds into the dream, they had no legal right, no title, no security, nothing. Rather than collaborating to make it right, Cody, the man at the center of the controversy, made things worse. He stalled discussions, changed the conditions, and engaged in games of the mind. What should have been a calm and level dispute became an extended war of attrition. Mary and Janelle were ultimately left fighting, relegated to a fight where the deck was heavily stacked against them. What was meant to become their new home was suddenly a battlefield. Loyalty was put to the test, manipulation was deep-seated, and what had been a common goal suddenly felt like a silent war. Christine, to her credit, opted for a clean and quick departure. She sold her stake in the property back to Cody for merely $10. It wasn't for the cash, it was for closure, for being able to leave without strings. She weighed the importance of her peace of mind against a piece of land and decided that her peace of mind was more valuable. She wasn't like Mary and Janelle, though. They had given up too much, walked too far, invested too much to just give up. Surrendering the land, to them, meant surrendering justice. Their struggle wasn't about property, it was about fairness, about dignity. Yet, even in their resolve, they were rendered powerless. Cody, being the one in control of the papers and legal authority, asserted most of the land. Mary and Janelle would not give in, adamant that every partner should be on an equal footing. New documents were eventually drawn up in the effort to demonstrate balance. The land was divided into various parcels, portraying balance on the outside. Secretly, though, actual control was still in Cody and Robin's possession. The longest-standing wives had no input into the ultimate decisions. Their names could be on the documents, but when it came to power, they were essentially excluded. Their supposed equity didn't mean anything, because it only meant anything if those in charge chose to let it. And the imbalance didn't end there. Janelle had sacrificed her 401k to help finance the dream. Mary had worked steadily for years as a contributor to the family's coffers, but both left with hardly any of it. Robin, the legal wife, who had not invested as much in the beginning, retained not only a secure share of land, but its increasing value. She and Cody wound up with ownership of the down payment and the appreciation on the property. For Mary and Janelle, it was a betrayal. All of their investment in the dream, their trust, money, time, dumped. What they were left with was a judicial facade of fairness, but no real power to back it up. The land that they were supposed to be brought together on became a reminder of favoritism and manipulation. A monument to broken vows. Coyote Pass was never mere land. It was to be the cornerstone of their future. Instead, it turned into a bitter lesson on what can happen when love and trust are without legally protected recourse. When authority rests with one individual, the others are left with nothing but remorse and a futile hope to get back what pieces of themselves they may recover. The most tragic thing? These women didn't come up short because they were weak. They were marginalized because the structures around them, both within the family and without in the courts, weren't designed to save them. Ultimately, what fell apart wasn't a dream of mutual land. It was the faith in fairness, in loyalty, in something greater than themselves. It's not just a real estate story. It's about how dreams founded on broken promises can collapse, and how, even when the dust settles, the battle for what is rightfully yours is never over. Because some things are worth fighting for, even when everyone else says they're not worth keeping. Welcome back to the channel. If you're into stories that peel back the layers of real life, faith and family, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Now, let's dive in. Relationships don't simply conclude at a goodbye. They frequently persist in courtrooms, in title offices, and in quiet determination by individuals who won't be removed from the story they contributed to. For numerous individuals raised in religious congregations that support plural marriage, it's significant to comprehend this kind of lifestyle isn't always compulsory. In most congregations, it's an optional spiritual path, something people opt for, not something imposed upon them. But to one celebrity family, plural marriage was not just an option, something they decided to do. It was deeply connected to their faith, practically a requirement. Back in the early days, before cameras ever started rolling to record their day-to-day lives, faith was a driving force. Their religious devotion informed the way they lived and loved and brought up their children. Their choice to document their experience on television was done for a reason. It wasn't merely entertainment, it was meant to provide viewers with a glimpse behind the scenes of their unusual family life, their religion, and their commitment to live in a manner most outsiders found foreign. For others among them, plural marriage wasn't only something they had chosen, it was what they knew. They were brought up in like families, where this way of living was common and accepted. Not all those involved, however, had such a background. There was one woman who brought quite different origins into the plural family. She had grown up in a more traditional religious family, where every family tended to have only one single spouse. And then, as an adult, her own mother joined a polygamous family, becoming a wife in the same extended family. That crossover made everything more complex. It muddled the family roles and made the eventual marriage to the patriarch of the family even more complicated and intimate. Flash forward to the present day and everything has evolved. What was once a polygamous family is now a monogamous family, by happenstance, not choice. Only one wife is still married to the man at the center. To no one's surprise, he appears happy with this new status quo. One of the former wives has even indicated a desire to resume plural marriage life, not for religious reasons perhaps, but because she misses the security and sense of community that went along with it. Early in their show, religion was a significant thread. Fans got to watch them express their faith, visit religious events, and discuss openly their spiritual existence. It was an integral part of who they were. But when legal issues and public demands pushed them to move from their hometown, they lost touch with their religious community. That relocation was the turning point. Eventually, their religious practice went out of sight, and perhaps even out of their lives. There is little indication that the family continues to practice their religion in the same manner as before. There is no indication that they go to church, participate in group prayer, or otherwise are actively involved in religious routines. One has even remarried out of polygamy and made it obvious that she has no desire to return. That does not indicate that she has lost her faith, but rather how far she has moved away from it. It's easy to see why. Being under the ever-watchful eye of national television alters everything, particularly something as intimate as religion. The public eye, media scrutiny, and internal family conflicts have a tendency to push individuals to keep their beliefs less public. What was once displayed loudly on television became something quieter, something safer. And naturally, internal fractures within the family did not help. The more wives who departed from the marriage, the vision of a united, strong, plural household was destroyed. A source of pride for the patriarch once, it had now become an emblem of loss. Gone with it went the religious underpinning that had held their tale together, replaced by emotionalism and agonizing alienation. But perhaps that's life. And as individuals grow and develop, so do the stories they experience and tell. Sure, some fans will lament the lack of deeper spiritual emphasis, but the change also reflects life. Beliefs change, families change, and sometimes the most profound epiphanies aren't realized in scripture. but in the decisions that individuals make when times get tough. The reality is, most people didn't tune in for sermons. They tuned in for the humanity, for the love, the heartache, the grit. The soap opera wasn't for the sake of drama, it was actual drama. And it spoke to anyone who's ever had to make tough choices, wonder where they were headed, or struggle to keep what was most important.